Lebogang Montjane from the Independent Schools Association of Southern Africa joining us now to discuss the impact that this virus may have on schools. Lebogang, good evening and thanks so much for your time. Let's talk firstly about this particular case here. Now, we have the health minister saying and other authorities in the province saying there is no need to close. You can stay open. There is no threat at the moment, but we have the schools saying that they will remain closed. Where does the buck stop in a situation like this, at a school like this?
I think that all independent schools have a duty to their parents, and but more importantly to their children. And so if there's something that the school is concerned about, to make an assessment and the risk assessment, and for them to close for a period of time, that I think is the appropriate thing for them to have done in the circumstances. As they've said, they are assessing the situation and they'll make a decision in due course whether to open up or not.
So who makes that assessment? Who's qualified to make that assessment? Because you have someone like the health minister, you have your MEC telling you it's okay, guys. So who at the school is qualified to make such an assessment?
It's the Board of Governors with the head and the management committee of the school. Independent schools are actually protected in terms of Section 29(3) of the South African Constitution, giving them independence to determine their decisions regarding education and whom and when, how they will open. For example, all our independent schools are free to set up their, obviously meeting minimum regulatory standards when they'll have open up and close for schools, their school calendar. So some of our schools have 3 terms, some of our schools have 4 terms, and most public schools are 4-term schools.
Are they all governed by the same protocol, or does each school set its own rules for any particular situation?
You know, with this virus, so little about it is known. What we do know that it affects older people quite significantly, and those people who are immune compromised. So a school must, and all our independent schools, we say to them, you must make a decision based on the facts that you are faced with at that time, taking consideration the advice of public health officials. There's no really one case fits all. And so one of our member schools has also asked a pupil who is about 3 or 4 persons removed from the original person to self-quarantine. That was agreed between them and the school and is on an individual basis. But what we really emphasize is ISASA, don't panic and actually keep up with what is happening around the world. So we now know that it's spreading around the world, but we don't know the extent of it. And I think that, as the doctor said earlier on, who was at Hilton, who saw this patient, she's like, it's really just a very bad flu, and so we must all calm down and not panic.
Just clarify first, because obviously you've been in touch and you know what's happening. Have these 2 boys been to school since they came back from Italy?
From what I have been informed, the boys were at school on Monday and Tuesday, and then they once it was determined that it seemed that their parent had been exposed. I do know that it seems that the boys were not back at school on Wednesday.
So, I mean, there's also the question, Lebogang, of, what happens to these two little boys? Are we creating, putting a bit of a target on their back? Is there a bit of stigma, attached to this now when they do get back to school? Is there going to be kids who don't want to go near them? How should the school be navigating that or dealing with that?
Oh, and I think that is important. I mean, we're going into flu season now, and I think that with coronavirus it's important that we are now far more cautious. So we really advise parents and staff, if you're not feeling well and flu-y, don't be brave and come to school. So we do not, because we do not know what strain of flu you may be having. And I think that this is going to affect everybody, every school during the flu season. And ultimately, it also must be remembered, there doesn't seem to be evidence that it actually affects children as badly as it affects older people.
Just the idea that these 2 children, you know what happens when you've seen the jokes out there, you've seen the hoaxes and all of that. Now, children are going to be children, and these 2 boys, they will know who they are. What is the school's duty to protect them when they do get back to school?
The duty is to make sure that everybody is respected quite significantly. And I think that, knowing the school, I do not think that anybody would actually blame these children. And it must be noted, there is no evidence that these children have the virus. And so, there's no basis for them to be victimized. And I think that we really are concerned about their father, and hopefully he recovers quite soon. And I think that, he also did the right things by following the right protocols. It's not as if he felt fluey, he just sat around and started infecting other people. He immediately went to the doctor. So that's something that we should actually congratulate him and actually inform these children that, look at what good thing your father did.
So, in the case of when to reopen, I mean, we know, people have to be in isolation at some level for about 2 weeks. Now, is the school going to have to wait 2 weeks? What do you know? What would be the things to consider here now?
The probability of transmission of the virus, I think that is what is actually a test that has to be determined. We do know that now that I know that Italy has made a decision to close all schools. The United Kingdom has closed some schools, but not all. And I think that what we've seen in the United Kingdom and how this has been managed, the World Health Organization has been proud of it. The epicenter of the virus in China, I know that China has closed more schools. So really there is no reason from our perspective that there should be a decision for the school to close for long periods of time. They obviously have to, they looked at the situation, said, look, we need more time before we put anybody in further danger. Let us close the school for today. They didn't say that they're going to close it forever.
And suspend weekend activities.
And for the weekend, and then now we will make a decision. And I know that the board is meeting to make a decision of when is it best for them to open.
In the process.
They are still considering the matter.
All right, well, we'll wait and see what happens there. Thanks so much, Lebogang Montjane, Executive Director of the Independent Schools Association of Southern Africa.